Welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited to have you here for another explainer. So think about this for a second. How many keystrokes do you make in a given day? Thousands? Tens of thousands? Over a single year, the average office worker inputs literally millions of keystrokes. And honestly, that is a massive amount of physical labor concentrated into some of the most delicate mechanics in the entire human body. So today, we're taking a really close look at a brief but super important document simply titled The New Memo. Think of it as a curated toolkit for your daily occupational health. It pulls together 3 specific, highly authoritative resources to form a comprehensive strategy. And the goal? Protecting something you're probably using right at this very second.
Actually, do me a favor. Literally freeze. Don't move a single muscle. Look down at your hands. How are your wrists positioned right now? Are they bent upward? Maybe they're resting hard against the sharp edge of your desk. Or are your shoulders doing all the work that your elbows really should be doing? I wanted to use this exact moment to immediately connect your physical reality to the concepts we're going to explore today. Because this explainer, it isn't just some abstract theory. It's about the literal physical mechanics of your daily life, the actual tension in your tendons, and how to protect your body while you work.
So, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the ideal workstation position. Second, wrist pain and symptoms. And finally, number 3, carpal tunnel and splinting.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the ideal workstation position.
The memo kicks things off by pointing directly to official OSHA guidance. Now, it's actually kind of wild to pause and think about this. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, the government agency famous for regulating heavy machinery, construction scaffolding, hazardous chemicals, they've dedicated incredibly specific guidance just to how your wrists sit at a desk. Why? Because repetitive strain injuries, or RSIs, affect millions of workers. The microtraumas caused by thousands of hours of incorrect typing, well, they generate microscopic tears and inflammation that just compound over time. So OSHA's guidance focuses strictly on how your wrists and your forearms interact with your desk setup. It's an essential preventative standard to stop that microtrauma before it even starts.
Basically, we can boil this OSHA resource down to a quick 2-step evaluation you can do right at your desk. Step 1, check your forearm position. Your forearms should be resting comfortably and be completely parallel to the floor. If they aren't, your chair is probably either too high or too low, and it's forcing your body to constantly fight gravity. Then step 2, evaluate your wrist angle. They need to be neutral and straight. A truly neutral wrist feels like it's almost floating. You shouldn't have to flex your hands upward to hit your keys, and they shouldn't be severely angled downward either. Because when your wrists are bent, the tendons connecting your forearm muscles to your fingers are forced to grind against the bones and ligaments in your wrist. It's literally like a rope fraying over a sharp rock. But by fixing your chair height and keyboard placement to hit these 2 parallel, neutral steps, you let gravity do the work for you, which drastically cuts down the wear and tear on those internal structures.
All right, let's move on to Section 2, wrist pain and symptoms. This is what happens when that ideal posture starts to slip.
Here, the memo explicitly links out to Mayo Clinic guidance on wrist pain symptoms and when to seek care. And this specific focus is absolutely vital because it completely shifts our mindset. Listen, pain is not a badge of honor for grinding out a 12-hour workday. It's a critical biological signal from your body. The Mayo Clinic points out specific early warning signs we all need to be watching for. And we're not just talking about your hands feeling a bit tired. We're talking about tingling in your thumb or your index finger. Maybe it's a subtle, unexplainable weakness in your everyday grip strength, or dull, persistent aches that radiate all the way from the wrist up into the forearm. Recognizing these exact symptoms is your absolute next best defense when your workstation prevention fails.
What's great is how the Mayo Clinic resource expertly contrasts 2 very different phases of action, simply monitoring your wrist symptoms versus actually knowing when to seek care. There is a huge difference between noticing some everyday muscle fatigue and crossing the threshold where professional medical care is, quite frankly, non-negotiable. The memo empowers you with the exact criteria for that transition. You need to seek immediate care when you hit red flags, like pain that is so severe it literally wakes you up at night, or numbness that stubbornly refuses to go away after you stop typing, or even a sudden loss of fine motor control like unexpectedly dropping your coffee mug or suddenly struggling to button your shirt. That right there is the exact line where a mild ache turns into a situation requiring serious medical intervention.
Which brings us to our final stop, Section 3, carpal tunnel and splinting, the clinical intervention phase.
For this part, the memo links straight to guidance from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, or AAOS. They pinpoint carpal tunnel syndrome as the primary consequence of long-term poor workstation habits. And to understand why this condition is just so notorious, we have to look at the anatomy.
The carpal tunnel is a literal, narrow passageway made of ligament and bone, sitting right at the base of your hand. Running straight through the dead center of this tight tunnel is your median nerve. That's what gives feeling to your thumb, index, middle, and ring fingers. When poor, non-neutral posture causes your flexor tendons to get inflamed and swell up, the tunnel itself doesn't expand. No, instead, that swelling brutally compresses and crushes the median nerve inside that confined space. That nerve crush is exactly what triggers the numbness, the burning, and the eventual muscle atrophy that we know as carpal tunnel syndrome.
But the AAOS resource doesn't just define the problem, it gives us official guidance on a targeted intervention: wrist splinting. Splinting is a highly effective treatment because it physically enforces that perfectly straight neutral wrist angle we established earlier with the OSHA guidelines. And what's really fascinating here is that the AAOS highly recommends wearing these splints at night. Why at night? Well, it turns out that when we sleep, the vast majority of us naturally curl up into a fetal position, often severely bending our wrists inward without having any idea we're doing it. This nighttime curling drastically compounds the median nerve pressure that you've built up during the day, so a splint basically acts as a rigid physical blocker. It keeps the joint open and gives that compressed nerve hours of critical, uninterrupted relief to heal while you sleep.
So when we zoom out and look at the new memo strategy as a whole, it really just flawlessly comes together. You evaluate your workstation position and mechanics using the OSHA guidelines to stop tendon friction. You actively monitor your biological symptoms and learn the exact red flags for seeking care through the Mayo Clinic. And finally, you understand the anatomical reality of carpal tunnel syndrome, allowing you to use targeted interventions like night splinting from the AAOS to relieve median nerve pressure. These three simple links synthesize into a totally comprehensive, full-circle occupational health strategy. It takes you seamlessly from adjusting the height of your office chair all the way through to clinical orthopedic recovery.
And that leaves us with the most important question of all. Is it time to adjust your workstation? Seriously, I urge you to take immediate physical action on your desk ergonomics based on the mechanical reality we've gone over in this explainer. Double-check right now. Are your forearms parallel? Are your wrists floating in neutral? Please, don't wait for those Mayo Clinic nerve symptoms to show up, and definitely don't wait until you need an AAOS wrist splint just to sleep through the night. Use this toolkit, assess and fix your desk setup today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next explainer.